Florida, home of the Florida Man and land of the Gators, and some of the weirdest laws to ever exist. From outlawing balloon releases to demanding you pay a parking meter for your elephant, the Sunshine State doesn't disappoint. These aren't made up, they're real laws, or they were at one point. So let's take a wild ride through 25 of Florida's most bizarre, hilarious, and downright confusing legal quirks. To start, did you know that it was once illegal to sell children in Florida? Now, thankfully, this law reflects a very real and serious concern about child trafficking and exploitation. So while it sounds shocking, the intent behind it is definitely understandable. Moving on to slightly less serious but equally head-scratching territory, nude bathing. Apparently taking a shower nude was once considered an offense in Florida. I didn't know there was any other way to take a shower. And get this, at one point it was apparently illegal to sing in Florida while wearing a swimsuit or bikini. So next time you're belting out your favorite tune at the beach, maybe double check your swimwear and your vocal cords. And if you're planning on celebrating anything with a grand balloon release, think again. In Florida, you can't release more than 10 balloons at a time unless they're biodegradable, part of meteorological study, or released indoors. So save those massive celebratory balloon arches for your indoor parties, I guess. Now let's talk about souvenirs. Florida had specific regulations about how souvenirs could be labeled, requiring sellers to be registered with the Florida Department of Agriculture. You know, just making sure your I Heart Florida keychain is properly documented. And here's a truly bizarre one. It was illegal for an unmarried woman to parachute on Sundays in Florida until that law was struck down in 2005. I have so many questions about this one. What was the logic? Why unmarried women specifically? And why Sundays? It's a real head scratcher. And this next one has some historical teeth. Stealing a horse in Florida used to be punishable by hanging. While the hanging part is thankfully no longer enforceable due to the 8th Amendment, it's still felony punishable by prison time and a hefty fine. I think it's about $5,000 in a couple of days. So maybe stick to borrowing a friend's car instead of their trusty steed. Calling off pet owners in Destin, Florida. In Destin, the owner of a bad cat or bad rooster can be fined for public nuisance if their pet chases anyone in a threatening manner without being provoked. So if Fluffy has a vendetta against a mailman, you might be facing a fine. And speaking of animals and unusual restrictions, apparently Florida law forbids rats to leave the ships docked in Tampa Bay. I'm picturing tiny rat custom officials diligently checking passports. How exactly do they enforce this? I have no idea, but maybe Ratatouille should stay at home. Feeling a bit too energetic in Hialeah? Watch out! Ambling and strolling is a misdemeanor. Yes, you heard that right. Apparently there's a wrong way to walk in Hialeah. Maybe power walking is acceptable? The law doesn't really specify. Elephant owners, take note. If your elephant is tied to a parking meter, you have to pay the parking fee, just like any other vehicle. I wonder if they get a trunk-sized ticket. Here's one that actually sounds like common sense, but apparently it needed to be coded into law. In Florida, failure to tell your neighbor his house is on fire is illegal. So be a good neighbor and shout it out. Jerry! Jerry, your house is on fire! Anglers, take heed. It is illegal to fish while driving across a bridge in Florida. Focus on the road, folks. The fish will still be there later. Planning on shredding some pavement? In Florida, it's illegal to skateboard without a license. Time to hit up the DMV for your official board riding permit. This one is actually a myth, but it's still fun to include. Ladies, if you're getting your hair done, try to stay awake. Women may be fined for falling asleep under a hairdryer, as can the salon owner. Talk about a high-stakes nap. And if you're having a particularly clumsy day, watch out in Florida. You are not allowed to break more than 3 dishes per day or chip the edges of more than 4 cups and or saucers. Someone was clearly having some kitchen mishaps when this law was written. Gentlemen, this one's for you. It is illegal for a man to wear a strapless formal gown in public. So if you were planning on making a bold fashion statement, you might want to reconsider your outfit choices in Florida. And here's a pretty broad one. If it's deemed that you have corrupted the public's morals, you can be hit with a misdemeanor offense. Talk about subjective. Best to keep your moral compass pointing north in Florida. Planning on some winter sports in Palm Bay? Think again. In Palm Bay, Florida, it is illegal to tow a bobsled behind a bicycle. Probably not a common occurrence, but I guess it's good to know. It was probably the Olympic team or future Olympic teams trying this, or a kid that was inspired by the Olympics. This one I can actually get behind on. All doors must open outward on public buildings. No more embarrassing yourself by pulling a push door or pushing a pull door. Okay, this one's just completely mind-boggling. But apparently, there's a law regarding sexual relations with a porcupine. I don't even want to know the backstory here. Just don't look it up any further. Remember that happy stroll we talked about in Himalaya? Well, in general, apparently, strolling or ambling happy can get you into trouble in some contexts. Someone clearly prefers a more serious gait in Florida. Wipe that smile off your face. Stroll or amble with anger. Here's a law that might affect some after dinner activities. No farting in a public place after 6 p.m. So time your digestive system accordingly if you're out and about in Florida in the evening. Pretty sure this one's also a myth. And finally, a word of caution to any aspiring zoo impersonators. No monkeying around. Imitating zoo animal behavior can put you behind a similar cage, so save your best gorilla impressions for your living room. I lied, there's one more. In Pensacola, pushing a barrel down the street isn't just odd, it can actually get you fined. And the twist? The amount you pay depends on what's inside the barrel. So if you're planning a roll, you might want to double check the contents before taking it to the streets. Florida might be a vacation paradise, but when it comes to laws, it's a chaotic legal jungle. Some of these are real, some outdated, and some are still active today. So next time you're in the Sunshine State, maybe just walk briskly, don't sing, and whatever you do, leave the bobsled at home. Which of these laws surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more weird laws from other states, hit that like button and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.